Goodbye, Moo. Thanks for coming on my podcast, brother, today.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Um, for the listeners, today I have an award-winning photographer, shot by Moo, on my podcast. I'm so excited. Mujevale, Mujevale, Mujevale. My name is Bane Kibuka, and welcome to another episode of the Ugandan Ball Talk Show. I'm trying to remember who recommended you to be the guest on the podcast. It should have been, oh, was it Bosphor? You know Bosphor?
Yeah, Frank. Yeah.
Frank, yeah, Frank B. It either has to be Frank B, MD Pack, or William. Oh, yeah, William. I just recently finished a podcast recording with William. Um, and then I finished a recording with Buscago. So I'm making my rounds around all of you photographers. So you, somebody, one of those people might have recommended you to be the guest on my podcast. So I'm so excited to have you here today, and I can't wait for my listeners to hear from your wisdom. How are you doing today?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
So I introduced you as an award-winning photographer, and well, what are some of the words you remember that you've been a part of? One.
Um, I think my most memorable is probably the Uganda Press Photo awards that I won in 2019.
2019. Yeah,
Yeah,
2019.
the ones for imported pollution, and the one for A Tale of Two Cities, where I showed one half of Naguru, very badly off, and the other side looking extremely developed, and the two
Yeah.
divided by a road. So I
That is
think those.
crazy. And I'm going to ask you about something like that later on that I saw in your work. But one thing I got to say, why is it that all photographers are so humble? Like, why are you guys so humble? Like, morning daru. I don't know. When I host people on the podcast, like, they're always so humble. And you might think that they're humble people. Like, I mean, not humble. Like, you're humble, like in behavior wise, but like, even when you're talking, just quiet, silent. Even William was like that.
Yeah, we're humble. You have to be humble.
Even Nyaika. So like Nyaika, you can see him on social media and like he's like crazy and all that. But when I recorded a episode with him, he was like humble, like you've never seen Nyaika so quiet like that. Like he was just chill. I'm like, this guy, there's something that happens to photographers and they just go quiet.
when they have to get in front of the camera, they
Yeah.
start feeling. Yeah.
So usually when I have photographers on the podcast, I like to hear a little bit about their journey, how they got into photography, and what was your first time for you when you had a camera in your hands that you started taking pictures, and walk us through your journey to where you got.
Wow. So I used to be a graphic designer. Doing the 9 to 5 for about 3 years. Well there. It's when I picked up the interest in photography, when I would see the production people coming in to do like TV commercials, and I really kind of admired these guys. The people doing commercials, the people doing like product photography. It just seemed like they were living a free life and not doing a 9 to 5. Probably getting a chance to work on so many exciting projects, day in, day out, compared to the routine of a 9 to 5. So I just picked that interest. I just said watching like a lot of YouTube videos of travel photographers, and I just kind of picked up that interest slowly by slowly. And I remember that was towards the end of 2016, and I decided to just save up some money and buy a camera. First camera I bought was actually a drone. So the reason I decided to buy a drone at that time is because in 2016, 2017, drones were like a new thing at the time. Going to make money off this. I can't just buy a camera just like everyone else and then just start taking pictures. I have to do something that's a bit unique and that will get my name out there, and will also be a good opportunity to get like interesting things, because I was curious about aerial photography. Like at the time,
Mhm.
I think most people were just using them for like for for music videos, and I thought they could really offer that perspective. So yeah, that's how I got into aerial photography.
That makes sense because when I had Buscago here, he was talking, and I shared with you that clip from my interview with Buscago.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy, but he was talking about how he's doing like a drone pilot too, and he was talking about his journey into a drone. And I've seen a few pictures here. We're going to talk about you using the drone, but it's pretty cool to see that people you move to another level. Like you just say, they were just using them for just music videos. Had you seen somebody's work on a drone before that inspired you to buy a drone first? What made you want to go with a drone first?
I think I was inspired by what I had seen on YouTube. A particular video stands out. I think there was a guy with a drone and he flew over the Great Wall of China. I was like, this just looks so crazy. Drone here in UG, and yeah, it just made sense. So I think I was inspired by what I'd seen online, like all the crazy videos I'd seen online.
Yeah. So a lot of people do portraits, they do people. What made you choose to do documentary photography, like just nature and for documentary?
Um, that's a decision I made over time. Um, yeah, so after having a drone for a while, like from the business point of sense, like a drone was really cool, but I realized that if I, because I also formed my company in 2017 as well. So
Okay.
while a drone makes like a lot of sense, like as a good offering, it can be like a standalone thing where it can be like a primary source of income. So I remember I had to get a camera, and yeah, when I got a camera, I started. I shot a few like baptisms, baby showers,
Hmm.
and it wasn't a very good experience for me. So I remember,
Why?
um, I don't know. I just felt like, I think for me, there's some people who really enjoy it, interacting with people, telling people pose like this, do like this, and that's their thing. I love it for them, but for me, I think it really wasn't my thing. Um, bring out those magical moments in people. So from I remember, like, from then, I think I made the decision that I'm not going to be like a people photographer. I'll do, if I have to be a people photographer, I'll take it from a point of observation, but not interaction. And
Hmm.
so maybe that's why I enjoy like maybe documentary photography.
It's cool that you say that because I've seen on your Instagram too. Yeah, you have people as an
Yeah,
observation, not like people as because there's a lady winnowing. I think she was winnowing, like
yeah,
throwing some stuff in the air, like stuff like that. I've seen that,
yeah,
and those are still pretty cool picture. Like you don't have to tell them, "Hey, pose like this." You kind of just take an action, like what's happening, and I guess that's a lot
yeah,
different from that. So you,
yeah.
I was doing some research about you and finding out about you, and I found this cool thing that you contribute a contributing photographer to Getty Images and Shutterstock. And I've seen those on Google all the time. I was like, oh my God, we have our very own. Talk to us about like landing that opportunity to be a contributor on that. That's a big deal for me. Like, I don't know what the listeners think about it, but to you, but like for me to see that, I'm proud. I feel proud. Like, hey, we have our very own representing this. How did you land that opportunity?
There's no magical story behind getting it here. I just took pictures for a while, and I think I kept on applying. I think every year,
Hmm.
and then eventually, I think I had like enough pictures that met their criteria or their standards, and yeah, I was accepted. Yeah, into their contributor program. Yes, I just applied and I was accepted into their program.
Yeah.
And actually, if your pictures are at a certain level, you actually, they give you like grades, and then you can even shoot custom briefs for
Mm.
them, in addition to having your stock, your photos, they're available for sale.
Like I was gonna say, like I wouldn't say like it wasn't a cool story. Well, like you say, there wasn't really a cool story about it, but that itself is a cool story because it takes not everybody is doing it. Like if it's not a cool story, why isn't everybody doing it? Like for me, that shows that you have to have quality work, you have to apply. Like that's right there. Like if everybody's standing behind a camera, like I've taken pictures. Like why am I like not having them there. You know, it takes talent and special. And for me, that's a cool story right there. That your work actually it might not even be your effort, you know, like what you have to do, but like the picture you took and like speaks for itself and it's out there. You've worked with some big agencies around the world, like J. Walter Thompson and TBWA, like all these Vodafone. Those two that you say, like I was gonna ask you about that, but you're gonna hit me with there was no cool story about that. Is there any cool story?
No, no. Okay, yeah, those are definitely maybe a bit cooler. Yeah, yeah. So I worked with J. Walter Thompson and TBW. While I was still a graphic designer slash art director.
Mhm.
Yeah. So at J. Walter Thompson, I had the opportunity to work on with so many brands. In the agency, I remember they had there was Sadolin, there was Uganda Bati, there was Standard Chartered. So you would just be working working on like campaigns for these guys. If like a new advertising brief comes in, you have to work with like copywriters, and
Mhm.
you put your heads together for not come up with like good visuals for these guys. So it was quite interesting. My experience working in advertising, it really pushes your creativity. You have to think a lot. How can you come up with something interesting, something original, something fresh?
Yeah.
Because it's a very competitive industry, because you're competing for people's attention. So you really have to think outside
Mhm.
the box. So
One of the questions that I've wanted to ask you guys, the photographers in this generation, on what would you compare, or what stands out to you from the old photography we knew to this today's? Because it's definitely there's a huge difference, like you can see. But what would you compare in differences and similarities from the old photography? Because, and I told this to William that back in the day, you'd be at home and then your parents say, "Hey, cameraman, yeah, wait, they're gonna take a picture. Cameraman, na ingirao." The camera your mother used to have what kind of cameras? I don't even remember, like the film cameras, but I don't know if there was a
yeah,
Canon or something. I don't know. Then put you there. He doesn't even know where the sun is coming from, but he has a camera and he's the only one in the community. And then pa pa pa,
yeah.
he goes month later, hey, Fanabia, maybe you know, we come here, like, but that kind of stuff that we used to do at that time. But now we're into this generation where, I mean, you take a picture and it looks way different. What are some of the things that sticks out to you in similarities and differences from the old style of photography?
I think if we look at today versus back then, um, I would say a lot has changed in terms of technology, and also in terms of like uh, creative concepts. People now have so many lights, and they can pull off all sorts of creative things. Even in terms of like family portraits. Nowadays people do them like in studios with like all these interesting lighting concepts. I would say in terms of technology, a lot of things have improved that have allowed people like to create more interesting images.
Is there something
Yeah.
you miss from the old photograph style of photography? Is there something you wish we still had today or no?
No, I think I'm an agent of change. I
Yeah.
embrace change as it comes. So
Was there anything cool about the films back then that you'd want to see now, or no? The technology today is way better than the films.
um, I think back then, like when people were shooting film, it probably made each photo more intentional,
Hmm.
because there was only like a limited amount of film. So
Yeah.
I think you really had to like think very hard before taking that photo. So I think, yeah, many of the very famous photos we have today were probably, the guy really waited for the
Yeah.
magic moment. Days where you can just snap like a
Hmm.
thousand photos, and then just come and pick later on. So I think maybe back in the day, people were more intentional about the pictures they took. So it was quality, quality over quantity.
Hmm. I don't know if you've caught up on William's episode that I recorded, but he shares his story at the very beginning about he had a film camera. The first gig he got was a birthday party, and then he shot 200 pictures in a film, but only five were good pictures because
That's
he
crazy.
had their heads off, and like he went and he shared the story. He's like he goes into the place to develop them, and the guys were laughing, and he's like, "What are these guys laughing at?" And they handed him the pictures, and only out of 200, he had five good pictures. All the others,
Wow.
but that's a funny. I like that because it's cool to hear about him say that, and people don't know somebody's journey like that, and you hear the backstory, you laugh about it, but then to see where he's at now, and like even like what you do. Do you have any funny moment like that about your journey in photography? Anything that has happened to you that in photography that you can share?
Funny. That's
Or like if you take pictures, like he was saying, he took pictures of people and they saw he was in their faces and they expected their
yeah,
pictures back, but he only had
yeah.
five to show. Like something like that. You could be taking pictures, but you forgot to like a video, but you forgot to hit record. Like things like that.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I wouldn't say I've had very many humorous humorous moments in in my journey. Yeah, funny. No, but I've had some chaotic things happen. I remember the time we went on a trip with some guys called Koi Koi. It was like a group of photographers. So we went to the rhino sanctuary. I remember I woke up early in the morning, um, just to get like photos of the place. And then I remember I flew a drone very early in the morning, and all of a sudden there was like so much panic. The owners of the place came and saying, bring it down," and they thought that we were poachers. So like there was a whole lot of panic and what are you guys trying to do? Are you like trying to spy on these rhinos? Are you working with poachers? Because they try and get pictures like of of the sunrise,
Mhm.
and it was so chaotic. Back then, I remember like they searched all our equipment and whatnot, and everyone was calling me and Isaiah. That's the other guy I was with. They're calling us poachers. Yeah, that was really kind of a funny thing that I can think about.
I like that because when
Yeah.
Buskago was on here too, he shared his funny moment about the drone. Like anytime he goes in the villages, people want to hit it with they pick up stones to hit it because they don't know what it is. Like moments like that. People who and I watched a movie. I don't remember the title, and I told him that. But this guy, they had drones in this area, but people had never seen them, and they saw there were aliens coming to attack them, and they just wanted to shoot them.
It's really crazy with these drones.
How did you meet Buskago? And because he shared on his episode, he shared about you and how you inspire him with the work you do, and both of you kind of look at each other's and inspire each other. How did you first meet Buskago?
Well, I think I met him very many years ago. He's a cousin to
Okay.
a very close friend of mine, and that's how I met him.
Mm.
Yeah, like in uni, so many years ago, even before we were both photographers. So I
Yeah.
think we just been friends for a while. I think since like maybe 2012. Uh, uh, yeah, he was actually in the same university as me.
Mm.
So, yeah.
And when I had a question on him because I thought he was the one bungee jumping. But then he was like, no, that wasn't me. That was shot by Mo. Uh, Tell me that experience of you bungee jumping because I'll never do that. Like I'll never. But and I told him I'll never bungee jump, even if I don't know how much money you can pay me to do that, or even jump out of. I can jump out of the plane, but I cannot bungee jump.
It was really scary. That's the truth. It was really 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 scary, and I remember I jumped backwards. I wasn't facing the water, and
Mm.
remember that guy was doing a countdown where he said like on the count of three he would let me go, and remember I did 3, 2, and then on 2 like he let me
Oh,
go backwards, and then I remember when I opened my eyes like I think my body was expecting to just die. Like I thought I was just going to hit something and just die and then just splatter all over.
today's episode is sponsored by Dance of Gamers. Dance Gamers is the leading distributor of video games and other consumer gadgets like the podcast microphone sets, ring lights, headphones, and affordable smartwatches, and many other cool gadgets. For these and more, visit their website at www.dancesoftgamers.co. That is www.dancesoftgamers.co.
Man, that's a thing. Like it just went down, the rope reached the end, and then it pulled me up. I'm like, yo, what the heck is going on? I had my body just confused. And you go back down, it was just I think my brain was so confused, my heart was racing. Like
Would you do it again?
I think I'll do it again. It was a bit of an adrenaline rush. Like it gave me,
Yeah.
I don't even know, but it
How
was
many times
scary.
did you do it that day? Did you just go on it once?
I did once. Yeah, once was enough.
Yeah.
Once was enough for me for me that day. Remember they gave us an offer of going back again and again. I think if you do it a third time, it's free. Yeah, but who knows? Another time maybe.
Would you try skydiving?
yeah. I think I would not try that.
Yeah. I feel like if you can bungee jump, you can skydive.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of crazy things you can really do.
That's stuck out to me when you're talking about it. You've done a lot of a lot of projects. What is one of your memorable projects that you like? This project was dope. I enjoyed doing this.
So that's an interesting question. I think one of the most memorable projects I've done was the time I had to climb Mount Elgon. There's a guy who approached me. he wanted a music video on top of a mountain. I thought, wow, this guy is crazy.
Yeah.
Like he must be kidding. And I thought maybe let me tell him I'm busy. And yeah, so he asked, when are you free? Then I told him I'll be free in 3 months. And the 3 months passed and he came back and he's like, yo, are you free? Like, what? Yeah.
You thought I would give up?
Yeah, but he was actually serious, and we ended up climbing the mountain for 4 days. Yeah, it was actually 4 days because on Friday, and then we came back down on Sunday. Yeah, so I think that was actually 3 days. It was a really intense project.
Yeah.
I just saw things I had never seen. It was intense on the mind, intense on the body. But it was so beautiful that the stuff I captured was really mind blowing, and it stayed with me. And the client became a friend.
Yeah.
And really had some time bonding there on the mountain. So I always look back at the pictures and I was like, wow, this was really crazy. Like you're so far up there, and then you look back and you're like, wow, I've really moved all this distance. Like, how am I even going to get back? And it's extremely cold. The conditions are crazy.
Yeah.
It's also extremely beautiful. So it was just something. It was really memorable. I think
that's a good memorable thing. Like I'm sure you'll never forget that for the rest of your life. Like it's a story to tell. What is your favorite picture, all-time favorite picture you've taken? I know you love all your pictures, but like, what is one you'll pick out? Like, this is my favorite.
That's tricky. That's tricky. I like all my pictures. That's tricky. Every picture to me has a story. Has an interesting story.
Okay, I'll just pick out mine that I picked for my favorite, and then you can just talk about them. One of it was the one in Abu Dhabi, the Sheikh Shadan Grand Mosque. That picture, it was dope in different ways. And when I went on to read the caption that you had on there about how you went with a different lens because of something you expected, and then you ended up not using the lens, and you kind of was a life lesson that you shared down there, like for other photographers to see. But looking at that work of that was like dope, and like this picture is cool. I like that. And then the other one was it was more like a video. You just discovered life on Mars, was in Bali. I looked at that picture. I looked at that. I'm like, this is not in Bali. You're kidding me. Like, this is not it. You're kidding me. And like those got to me.
That was Mount Elgon actually. I just color graded it. I just made it like a bit different. Just look a bit different. Yeah.
So what is talk about the time shooting in Abu Dhabi on the Grand Mosque, like your experience and what inspired you to go for that?
So I think I just gone like on a personal vacation for myself. and that was like one of the tourist spots. And I'd seen a bunch of pictures, and it just looked, extremely stunning. So many interesting opportunities for a wide angle lens, because with a wide angle you can capture like so much.
Mhm.
So I thought I don't know why in my mind I thought I would have the place to myself to capture these gym images in my mind. But when I went there were so many people. There were crowds and crowds and crowds of people that the images I had planned to get like in my mind were like almost impossible to get.
Mhm.
And so I had to now think, oh, how can I still make the most of this place? And
Yeah.
so I had to now use like another lens, and actually get the details of
Mhm.
the mosque. Because it's big, like it's grand, like in how big it is, but also what makes it more interesting is the tiny details and the tiles from like different places, the gold finish, and so that experience taught me to appreciate, the details, the
Mhm.
finer details, and not get so stuck on a plan that that you can't adapt.
I was asking you that question about your favorite picture, but even for me, I failed to find just one picture. So I have multiple pictures that I really liked, and that makes it hard to even choose one. The other one was, I don't remember the place, but you took the picture of the road. Um, it was like a road, cover road somewhere out. Where was that at?
That's actually in Bulisa district. Yeah, it's around the place where they're exploring oil in Uganda.
Hmm.
So and actually that road is very interesting because at that carving point, Idi Amin used to have like a I think a state lodge around
Yeah.
there where you could view like all the escarpments
Yeah.
from that point. From that point you can actually see Lake Albert.
Mm.
Um, so it's a very interesting point at where I took that picture. And it's also like a much bigger road than many of the other roads around Uganda. So that's what made it a very striking image for me at the time when I took it.
Yeah, it really came out pretty good. And the other picture was a picture of Kampala, and the caption was like, no caption, just vibes. It was just, I think it wasn't a picture necessarily. It was like a video, but you could see like lights and cars, and like it was just moving around. It was like a reels, maybe something like that. But was it Kampala? Yeah, I think it was Kampala.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that, yeah? That was dope, and it's crazy when we see you guys pictures now. Like when you go to your page, you can look at the picture. I'm like, this is not Uganda, but like we forget that because of the narrative that has been built on our country. Like it's nothing good. But when you want to see a beautiful Uganda, you go to Short by Mo's page, and this is to all my listeners too, actually in America, like listening to the podcast today. It's the narrative the media talks about in the news will be different from what you see from this guy's Instagram page or Buscago or anybody that does this kind of work. They try to portray you what Uganda is and what they won't tell you about it. And then you also had another picture of like Ghost Town. I think, did you take that in COVID when Kampala was really empty?
yeah. I managed to get quite a bit of footage, some memorable images for me personally. Yeah.
That's crazy because even I went to the comments and I saw some guy asking you if that picture was inverted or something, and then you told him, hey. And I went to look at the first picture, and you could see NSSF is like straight, like it's not inverted. But like the way you did it or edited it, and it looked, you're so talented, man. But one of the questions I'm gonna ask you, um, what is your caption game? Where do you get your captions for your pictures and your reels? I like to ask that from photographers because when I had Nyaika, he was talking about MD Pack. Like MD Pack will have 1,000 pictures that he has now posted because he doesn't have captions for them. What is your caption game like you use for your pictures?
Um, I have a lot of tricks that I use for captions, um, but I think for majority of my captions, I always try and give like a background story to the image. So I'll do like I'll take a picture because a picture is nice, but a picture with a story with like a whole compelling story behind it is like 1,000 times better. So most times, if I take like a picture of like a river or like
Yeah, I was gonna say River Nile,
maybe,
like River Nile,
yeah,
and then you explained what Nile
yeah,
means and what the River Nile means. And actually, that picture
yeah,
was dope. I have it down here, like the picture of
yeah,
River Niles and the water. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that's cool
yeah.
that you do that. You put a different, like a story behind it. Why this place is this thing like that.
Yeah, so I always try and do like a bit of research and get maybe some trivia
Hmm.
about that place. But most times, it's not every day that you can do that. Sometimes you take a normal picture and then really have a neat like an interesting fact about it. So
Hmm.
what else is like song lyrics?
Yeah, like there's one you have into the thick of it. So like I know that.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes it's song lyrics. Not every day can you have an informative caption. So yeah, but I won't let that get in the way of me posting a picture. Sometimes I just use song lyrics.
I'm not gonna take a lot of your time because I try to keep these episodes like short so people can follow, people can not lose track. Because Instagram people are really crazy. They can just no, not Instagram people, YouTube people. Like I post a video on YouTube. That's why I do videos. And mostly audio. I'm a big audio podcast, but I did it for the people who love to watch. I would have done my podcast for audio, but the people on YouTube, you would see the analysis, like where they show you, and people watch till 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and the graph starts dropping. Because like if you keep it long, and that's why I was worried about dropping a Williams episode with over an hour, because some people will not watch the whole hour. But like if they can listen to an hour, and that's why the audio part of the podcast is doing very good than the
Yeah,
YouTube. I still do the YouTube because I want people who like that, and for me, it's easier for me to see you have a conversation.
yeah.
So I try to keep that. But one question I want to ask you before I let you know, I have a few, but I want to ask you, what's a life lesson you've learned to this point?
What's a life lesson I've learned to this point? In my career,
Yeah, or even in life. It could be
in life,
in
in
life
life.
or in your
Uh,
career.
hmm. That's an interesting one. Sometimes in life,
Hmm.
crazy like bad things will happen,
Hmm.
and it's inevitable. It's inevitable that bad things will happen, but you can't waste so much time worrying about it. But you can do what is in your control. Yeah. So I think maybe what is a lesson here? I think
Hmm.
the lesson here is don't waste time worrying about things you can't control. That's where you should um, put put your energy in.
And that's big. Like I know you were talking about it, just like thinking about it, but that's big because sometimes we waste a lot of time worrying about things we can't change. You know, like if it's something you can't change, why are you worrying about it? It has happened, and I have
Yeah,
a say in my life. It has the chance. Like it's happened.
yeah.
How am I getting out of it? Like that's the next thing. How am I getting out of it? Because
Yeah, that's exactly where you should put your energy. So I think that lesson is powerful for me because there are times in my photography journey where I've lost all my equipment before, and yeah, that's like, bruh, like what's the next step? Like,
right.
is this the end? Like,
Hmm.
are you like going to like quit photography and then
Yeah.
but it's just like no, I can't like I can't give up. I'm passionate about this, and
Hmm.
even though I've lost all my equipment, I still have my skill, I still have my talent, I still know how to take a good image, so I can't let this get in the way. What can I control? Can I get a camera to use? Can I get like someone to edit? Can I do something that's in my control to keep on going as I figure out how to get more equipment? Because my equipment does not determine my career. It's what's in here that holds my career. So I think that's a big mantra that I live by. That I can only worry about what's in my control. These other things that have happened, I can't waste so much time dwelling on them.
Whose work inspires you like who inspires you? It could be a Ugandan, he could be anybody that inspires.
There's a guy who I follow called Kal Shakur on Instagram. Then there's Mutua Matheka, Truth. That's Truth Slinger. on Instagram. He's a Kenyan photographer. Kal Shakur is an American photographer. I like the aesthetic, and I just like how you can see their personalities in their work, and that's how their work also just keeps on evolving, but you can still see elements of them like in their work. That's what I really admire about their work.
My final question on the podcast I like to ask people is like my signature question. Who would you like to see on my podcast next as a guest? And you're gonna help me find that person to be on my podcast.
Who? There's a guy. He's a guy. No. You should interview Aaron Kajumba.
Aaron Kajumba. Okay.
He's
Is he a
on Instagram.
photographer too?
Yeah, he's a photographer.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a photographer, and he taught me quite a lot when I was starting out using camera. And it wasn't like technical stuff, but it was more about like how to compose, and he gave me like a lot of resources, and yeah, he was really a big help to me like when I was starting out. And yeah, he's a very interesting person. He's not only a photographer, but he's also a pastor. So yeah, I think that would be a very interesting person for you to chat with.
That would be dope. Once again, Arnold, short by Moo, I want to appreciate you for your time. I don't take it for granted when you give me some of your time from whatever you do, because I know you'd be doing another project right now, but you just decided to give me this time. I can't wait for my listeners to learn something about you that they don't know, or like from your work, the stories behind that you shared. And yeah, I appreciate that. So thank you very much, brother.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. See you. Stay connected. Hey there, this is Bani Kibuka, the host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with a friend and recommend somebody to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. And also don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment. Join us on our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So we would love to hear from you. Thank you very much and be blessed.